Good morning and welcome to Meet Your Future campaign. My name is Karen. I'm part of the Education Work and Skills team at Greater Manchester Combined Authority. For those of you who've joined us before, you might be aware that Meet Your Future was launched in April 2019 by Andy Burnham, Mayor of Greater Manchester, to enable more young people like you to meet and connect with different businesses and employers to explore various roles and careers. Now in 2025, we're excited to host these sessions in partnership with Greater Manchester Police Cybercrime Unit. To celebrate Safer Your Internet Day and National Apprenticeship Week, which is the 10th to the 16th of February, the Greater Manchester Police Cybercrime Unit wants to focus on raising awareness around the roles in cyber and policing and to highlight apprenticeship opportunities. This session will also contain information and tips to help prevent you from becoming victims of cybercrime. In this event, you will hear from Sophie Newman, a cyber protection officer in GMP's cybercrime unit. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you find this week's sessions inspiring and informative. Please make use of the question box for any questions or thoughts you may have throughout the session. You'll see this on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll be publishing any questions that come through. Please ask your teacher to put any questions you have into this box, and we'll cover these in the question and answer session at the end. I'll now hand over to Sophie. Thank you, Sophie. Over to you.
Thank you. I will just get my slides up. Okay, if you could just let me know if you can see my screen and then I'll get started.
Not yet, Sophie. Yeah, can see it.
Perfect. Okay, there we go. So my name is Sophie and I am the Cyber Protect Officer for Greater Manchester Police. So it's my job to give advice and information on people staying safe online. So it's a perfect day with today being Safer Internet Day. Hopefully you'll all learn something and find something a little bit interesting that I do cover today. And I'll also at the end be covering some careers in cyber and in policing. Okay, so first I'm just going to cover a little bit about the team that I work on, because cyber is something that is fairly new, but everything is on the internet these days. So unfortunately, so are the criminals. So I'm just going to show you a little bit about what my team looks like, because this started a couple of years ago as a 2-people team, and now there is new people on my team every time I walk in the office. So hopefully in the future, some of you that are watching today might like a job in this role. You might think, oh, I could do that, and not have realised that there's roles like this inside the police. So we have prepare officers. They are the really techie people. They play with all the gadgets and the hacker tools that the criminals use so that we're always one step ahead. So this isn't necessarily a public facing role. You don't have to be a police officer, but you can come and work for the police behind the scenes and do some really techie and interesting things. So that could appeal to some people. Protect is my role, and I go around talking to anyone and everyone that will listen about staying safe online. Sometimes I might be in schools, sometimes I might be doing conferences for businesses, other times I might go and work with older people and help them stay safe online. So absolutely anybody, all kinds of events. So again, another option that you might not have realised was a job where you can go around and talk to people like this. Prevent is our officer that works with young people who might be on the edge of committing cybercrime themselves. So a lot of you are probably really techie and can do all sorts of things on the internet and on your phones and your computers, but sometimes you might do things that you shouldn't necessarily do, and it can get you in trouble. So our prevent officer works with young people to make sure that all of your skills are used in positive ways so that you can actually earn a lot of money legally, rather than doing things you shouldn't be doing and ending up in trouble. And then our pursue officers are more like what you'd imagine from the police. They're the ones you see on TV, the detectives on the series that will do the investigations. They will go to court, they will arrest people and make sure that the cyber criminals are brought to justice. So that's just everything that we do in cyber, and we call that the 4 Ps. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about sounds really boring, but the reason for 99.9% of crimes that we deal with on my team every single day is just really rubbish passwords. So in the same way as you lock your front door when you leave your house, a password locks your online world, whether that is your social media, your online shopping, online banking, online gaming, anything that contains a little bit of data about you, maybe your mobile number, your bank details, your email address, your actual address. Criminals want access to that data, so that's why a password is so important to protect it. So the rules that we give for having good passwords is do not tell anybody else your passwords, even best friends. It says on there, especially younger siblings, and the reason for that is that I do these talks in primary schools all the time, and quite regularly they will put their hands up and say, my mum's password is, my dad's password is, and they're not saying it to get the parents in trouble. They're just saying it because they're eager and they know. So if you cannot tell your younger siblings your passwords, it might keep them just a little bit safer. Same with friends. We don't always stay friends with the same people. Sometimes friends can then go onto your accounts and do things they shouldn't do. It's just safer to have private passwords. The next one is to not use anything personal in your passwords. So I'm talking pets' names, celebrity names, your favourite football team, memorable dates to you. If anybody in your class right now could possibly guess your password, so could a cyber criminal. And the last one is that ensure all of your accounts have different passwords. Now, I'm sure you've all been told this a million times, but the reason for this is that cyber criminals are a little bit lazy. If they get into one of your accounts, before they move on, they'll try that same email and password in as many accounts as they can think of, and then they'll just get into everything. And one day you might wake up, try and go onto your phone, open Instagram, you've been logged out, open Facebook, you've been logged out, WhatsApp, everything. And it can be a really scary moment. So we just need to make sure that we don't allow them that opportunity and that we have different passwords on everything. The reason it says especially email on the screen there is because if a criminal gets into your email, even if all your passwords are different, they can click reset password on your Instagram account, the reset email will come through and they'll reset it themselves. So if you have a super strong password on one account for me today, make it your email account. Okay, so I've already covered passwords, that's on the screen there. The second point is that we advise to use 3 random words to create passwords. Look around whatever room you're in, pick 3 objects, write them down. It's a lot safer than a memorable word to you and a number. It makes it a little bit random, nothing to do with yourself. If you really take it and you have a password generator that'll create you a really, really long one, that's fine too, as long as you use a password manager or something, maybe a locked notes page on your phone to save them, and save your passwords however you want to. If your browser pops up and says, save this password, let it, unless you're on a public computer, say like in a library or at a school, then don't let it save your passwords. The next one is to turn on 2-step verification. So you might have heard of this already. It's a wordy way of saying that a password alone isn't enough to get into your account. So you will pop your password in, click OK, it wants something else. It might send a code to your phone. It might ask you a question. And it just means that even if a criminal cracks or hacks that password, they still can't get into your account. Put this on everything. Online banking makes you do it. Netflix makes you do it. Sometimes you can go into gaming accounts, social media accounts, just tick it on, and it just means you're adding that extra layer of security. Always update your devices and apps. So if you think about the TikTok app, that holds data on billions of people, probably most of you who are watching this today. And criminals all over the world will try and hack into TikTok every single day. Now, the techie people at TikTok will watch their system 24/7, and if they see a criminal trying to get in, they'll do some fancy coding, they'll kick that criminal out. They then send that code into your phone in the form of an update. So we need to make sure that we're always updating our apps and our phones so that we're not leaving the door open to criminals to get in and steal our data, messages, pictures, things like that. And the last one won't necessarily keep you safe from cyber criminals, but if your phone is lost, damaged or stolen, you're going to want to have the things that are on there. All your memorable pictures, all of your contacts, you want to be able to get into all of your apps. So if you regularly back up to maybe to an iCloud or a cloud-based service, maybe on a USB stick, if it's a laptop that you've got, a hard drive, if you're really techie and you've got lots of things, make sure you're saving what you've got so that if anything does happen to your phone, you can get access to what you need. Now, there's a lot of tips on that screen there, all 6 of them. The reason they're together is that if you follow those, you are 80% less likely to become a victim of cybercrime. Now, we get cybercrimes reported every single day, people having their account hacked and their identity stolen. So it's really, really important that I don't think any of these tips are super techy. And I believe that everybody listening today is capable of doing these. Pass them on to your friends and family as well, because you will be 80% less likely to be a victim. And that is really, really good. Okay. So I'm going to talk a little bit about social media. Social media can be really fun. We don't discourage anybody from using it. We just want to make sure that you use it safely. So first of all, we would advise you have private accounts. Now, I know a lot of people want a lot of friends and followers. You might want to be influencers or YouTubers, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not here to say that you will not be the next influencer or the next YouTuber. But for now, while you are younger, it's really, really important that you do have private accounts. If only one of your friends or followers is somebody dodgy or somebody dangerous, you could be putting yourself and your friends at risk as well. And then remember that once you are on private, not to just accept every request that you do get, because not everybody is who they say they are on the internet. And consider what your friends and followers need to know. So are you sharing too much? Could that give away what you're sharing? What your pet's name is, what your favourite celebrity name is, and could that give away some of your passwords? So we need to make sure that we are keeping our information as private as possible and sharing what we need to share with people who need to see it. So that leads me nicely on to talking about digital footprints. So this is every information, every little piece of information about you that exists on the internet. So like when you walk in the snow, you leave footprints behind. Everything you do on your phone or on the internet, on a computer, leaves a trail behind you. Now you can actively add to your digital footprint in obvious ways, like posting a status, uploading an Instagram story, sending an email. You know you have done those things and they add to your digital footprint. Other ways you can add to it without sometimes realising is that every website you go on will store your IP address. This means even if you don't buy anything off that website, even if you don't do anything on that website, just by visiting it, it will save that information about you. Sometimes other people can add to your digital footprint, likes, tags, comments, shares, posts, private messages, even if you've not necessarily directly interacted. If you're in a certain Facebook group or in a group chat, those kind of things will get linked to you. So it's making sure that you aren't associating with things that could get you into trouble. So this is a really, really important one for young people, particularly in high school, that once something is posted on social media, it is there forever, even if you delete it. So I'm going to pop some celebrities' faces on the screen now. You might recognise some of these faces. The reason they're all on there is because they have all got themselves into trouble over something that they've put on the internet. Now, the first one on there, Kevin Hart, back in 2011, he wrote a tweet that was homophobic. He has since deleted that tweet. I am sure he's very rich and famous. He's in a lot of films. He's a big comedian. He has a team of social media people that will make sure his social media looks beautiful and has not got anything offensive on there whatsoever. So that tweet got deleted. Fast forward to 2019, Kevin Hart was supposed to be hosting the Oscars, and somebody had found this tweet on the internet, because there are cached and archived versions of every website on the internet, and they'd circulated it around. The Oscars then contacted him, fired him, and said, "We don't want someone like you presenting for us. We can't be associated with that." So he kind of got cancelled. Now, the reason I share this story is because if somebody as rich and famous as Kevin Hart with a social media team can't delete something and hide it on the internet, what chance do you have? What chance do we have as regular people? So these websites are so easy to find. When I go into schools, a lot of pupils will put their hand up and tell me what websites that you go on. And if I was to put a nasty comment under somebody's picture today and then delete it, somebody could go on another day, another time, and see exactly what that website looked like at that time, at that day, and find my deleted comment. And that's how you can get yourselves into trouble. So the last thing I want is for everybody listening today to work super, super hard for the career that they want and then miss out on it because of something silly that they've put on social media while they are young. Universities do social media scans as standard these days. So do big companies. So if you are going for a job, they will check your social media. They will go through all the archived versions and they will make sure that they are hiring the right person for their company. So make sure you bear that in mind as you go forward from today about how sensible do you need to be when you are on social media. Okay, so I'm going to move on to another serious topic now, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about indecent images. So when I'm referring to indecent images today, I mean any image of somebody under the age of 18 without clothes on, either completely naked, partially naked, or of a sexual nature in any way. So if anybody ever asks you to take a picture of yourself in that way, make sure you are reporting it straight away. Other things that you might not know is that it is actually illegal to take, have, or share indecent images, even if you are under 18 yourself, which means you can't take a picture of yourself without clothes on, because taking it is illegal. If you then have that picture on your phone, having it is illegal. If you send it to somebody else, that is then illegal. And then that person that's received it, even if they didn't ask for it, if they have that on their phone, that is illegal also. So we need to make sure that we're not getting ourselves into trouble. Now, our priority from the police is not to arrest young people for taking these pictures. Our priority is to keep young people safe. However, it is illegal, and having those type of pictures and sharing those kinds of pictures. So we need to make sure that we are being as sensible as possible, not sharing these images, especially if they are going around in group chats. Think about how many people could be in those group chats, how many people could be affected and in trouble, and then mainly that poor person that's in the image. How embarrassed could they be? How scared could they be? That image could go further and further than they ever imagined. Other things that are less serious but more common are things like TikTok videos. Now, there are a lot of fun things you can do on TikTok, but there are also a lot of inappropriate songs, dances, and outfits on there. We need to make sure that the kind of content that we're creating isn't going to get you in trouble, isn't going to end up being viewed by people we don't want it being viewed by. So again, when it comes to TikTok, making any videos that you'd make sure your accounts are private and that you're not sharing content wearing inappropriate outfits to people that you don't know. So we need to make sure that we are keeping ourselves as safe as possible. Now, something that I never thought I would be talking about with young people is a crime called sextortion. Now, years ago, this would be emails sent to adults at their job saying, we've got footage of you visiting an adult website, and if you don't send us X amount of Bitcoin, we will send this content to all of your contacts at work, your family, your friends. And it was a generic looking email. These days, it's changed a little bit. And unfortunately, young people like yourselves in high school are being targeted. And what this will look like is somebody might befriend you on an online gaming platform. It might be on Discord, on an online chat. It could be anywhere. And they might make friends with you, speak to you for a little while. They might eventually ask you to share a picture. And as soon as that picture has been sent, that person then changes. They aren't the young girl they were pretending to be or the young boy. They are now a criminal. And they say to you, if you don't send me more images, I will share this with your school, with your parents, with your grandparents, with your friends. And unfortunately, last year, 4 young boys under the age of 14 took their own lives as a result of these kind of crimes. So it's really, really serious. And unfortunately, it does happen. So we need to make sure that if anybody finds themselves in that situation and somebody has asked them to send a picture, they have sent a picture, and they're then getting these kind of threats or these kind of messages, that you are speaking to a trusted adult, report it directly to the police. The police need to be able to catch these people. Stop communicating with the person straight away. Even if you've already sent something, at whatever point it is, make sure that you stop communicating with them. Keep evidence of the conversation so that you could have screenshots, or keep screenshots probably would be better, so that just in case anything gets deleted. Don't send any money, certainly don't send any more images. And then it says on there, keep a record. So like that could be a written one, like dates and times. Now, the thing to remember is that you won't be the first person that this has happened to, and unfortunately you wouldn't be the last. But your parents, even if they might be a bit panicked and a bit disappointed if you go to them and say, look, this is what I've done, they would much rather you did that than hurt yourself or, you know, feel like you are so alone and stressed in that situation. So it's just making you aware this isn't something that's going to happen to everybody all the time, but it is something that could happen. So making sure that we are aware. And there's a website on the screen now, and it's the Internet Watch Foundation. If you Google that, you can completely anonymously report any indecent image of a child under the age of 18. So that could be one that you've taken yourself, it could be one that somebody else has sent you, it could be one that you've seen in a group chat on social media, and there are a team of people that work really, really hard to remove that image from all parts of the internet. Now they will also look on the dark web and just to make sure that it's not ended up anywhere that it shouldn't do, to protect that young person. There it is, so www.iwf. And then you'll be able to find, even if you just Googled IWF or Internet Watch Foundation, it will come up, and that is completely anonymous. I will share all these resources with your teachers afterwards. They will get a full resource pack, so things like that will be on there. So now I'm just going to tell you a little bit about the legal side of the internet. So things that you can do on your phone, the things I talked about at the beginning, where young people can sometimes get themselves into a little bit of trouble. So the Computer Misuse Act governs all cybercrimes. That's what we on my team will use every single day. So section 1 is unauthorised access to computer material. That could be as simple as going on your friend's phone without permission, or logging onto a friend's account without permission. Maybe you know their password, maybe they've got a rubbish password. It could be that one time they've let you on their account, maybe to share a gaming account, maybe they've let you on their Instagram to message their mum because their phone's died. That's fine in that instance if you have permission. If you then go and log on a later date at a different time without permission, that is then illegal. And for section 1 offences, you can get up to 2 years in prison. And that is just logging on, having a look, even if you don't do anything. Section 2 is exactly the same, but you go on to do something else. So you go onto your friend's phone without permission, but then maybe you buy something or you send a nasty, hateful message to somebody else. Then you've committed section 2 of the Computer Misuse Act, and you can get up to 5 years in prison for that. The next one is unauthorised access with intent to impair. So this is where you damage a system. You go onto your school website and try and shut it down. Somebody could target, and one business could target another business to try and shut their website down. The way this happens most commonly with young people happens with gamers. So online gamers, I'm sure a lot of you that are listening will play online games. If you have ever experienced a situation where you've been winning at a game, and all of a sudden you get booted off the internet. It's not necessarily your router that's done it, it's somebody else that could have downloaded something called a booter tool or a kicker tool to kick you off the internet, and it targets your IP address in your router and shuts down your system. I'm sure a few of you are listening thinking, yep, that's definitely happened to me, and unfortunately it does. If you were to ever then go and download a booter tool yourself to try and do that to somebody else, you would be then committing an offence. So make sure that you are reporting that every time it does happen, because for acts like this, you can get up to 10 years in prison for using this kind of software. Because if someone was to target a massive company like Amazon and target and shut their system down, they would lose billions of pounds per second. Now that's just on a larger scale, but whatever scale, an offence is an offence. So if somebody targets your house and your parents work from home, it doesn't just shut your games console down, it can take down the whole network. So we need to make sure that we're not doing things like this. It can get you into trouble. So the next one is the same as all the other 3, but there's a risk of harm to life. So if you have unauthorised access, you use a booter tool, you go on and commit an offence, maybe you target something like the ambulance service or the police service, then as a result of that, somebody can't answer a 999 call, somebody dies, you can get up to life in prison. There is currently a 16-year-old boy in America serving life because he successfully hacked into part of the FBI. Now, he is clearly a very gifted individual, and I wouldn't be surprised if in future he was working for them in some capacity. But an offence is an offence, and we don't have young people serving life in this country. However, that is the offence there, and if somebody does die, there will be consequences for those actions. The very last one is a little bit different. So this is making, supplying or obtaining articles for use in any of these offences. So this is like if you was to download a booter tool but not use it, or if you was to download a Google how to hack a Snapchat account and download a guide. If you access these kind of websites or you download these kind of things, but you never use them, you can still get up to 2 years in prison. It's kind of the same as a going equipped offence, if anybody has ever heard of that. So if you go into a shop and you try and rob the shop and you have a knife, even if you don't stab anybody with that knife, you don't use it, you've carried that knife, and that is an offence. So you've gone equipped with a weapon and you would get charged for that. This is the online version. So you download anything dodgy, you go into any hacker forums. Sometimes our team will go onto a certain hacking forum or a certain piece of software on the internet, and we will look at a list of every single person that has viewed it or downloaded it, and we'll do a day of action and we'll go and arrest all of those people. So we don't want to end up on any of these lists. We don't want to be on anything on the internet that we shouldn't be. So certainly not downloading any dodgy things. And then you should be able to keep yourself safe on the internet. A few of the consequences of committing the offences that I have just covered. You could get a visit from the police. You could have all your devices seized. So if you are under investigation for a cybercrime, we will take every device off you that connects to the internet, which means phones, gaming consoles, laptops, anything at all that you could have had communication with someone on or that you could have accessed the internet on. That's for investigation purposes. It also surprises some people that now, just checking my mic wasn't muted there. Yeah, you sorry, my mic kept clicking off then. Am I back?
You are back, yeah.
It was definitely me. I was clicking in the wrong place. Yeah, you might not be able to travel to certain countries because to get to, say, America, to go to Disneyland, you will need a visa. And if you have anything on your record to do with the Computer Misuse Act, cyber is a matter of national security. So it will just make it really difficult, even if it's for something really small. And one of the earlier offences, it would still be really, really difficult to get a visa. You can get in trouble with school, you can get arrested, you can get a criminal record, and it can affect your future and your career if you have something like this on your record, because I've said cyber is everywhere, and if you're a cyber criminal, if you have something like that, people will be a little bit cautious. Now, the flip side of all of that, because I don't want this to sound like a scary session, a doom and gloom session, I want you to realise that there are so many positive opportunities online and on the internet. We just need to make sure that we're not doing the silly things that will get us into trouble at the same time. So one thing that a lot of young people might not know is that the average starting salary in the UK is £19,000. That might mean nothing to you. You might understand what that means. In cybersecurity, the average starting salary is £65,000. That's over triple. There is also what we call a skills gap in the cyber industry, where there's not enough people to fill the jobs. We also say that in cyber, the jobs, when you are old enough and you're getting your careers, you've been to uni, you've done what you need to do, there'll be so many jobs then that don't even exist now in the cyber world. So a few that we currently have is someone called an ethical hacker. So this is somebody who is very, very skilled on computers. They will be paid by big companies to hack into their systems. So banks might hire someone like an ethical hacker and say, please try and hack into our online banking system. Legally, they can then do whatever they want to try and hack into that bank's system. If they get in, they then share that with the bank and say, look, this is how I got in. This is how you need to protect yourself, and that's how they work. Cybersecurity architect. So an architect in real life designs like blueprints for buildings, bridges, all kinds of things. A cybersecurity architect might design an app or a software. Cyber threat intelligence researchers, so they will look at intelligence on the internet. It could be open source intelligence, things that are on the open web. They could have to interrogate certain systems to make sure that they can see exactly what information is out there and they can report back. We also have cybersecurity engineers. So in the same way as a real engineer maintains machines and fixes machines, a cybersecurity architect will maintain and fix software. So the architect designs the app, the engineer might then build it and then maintain. A cyber forensic investigator, that's what we would have for the police. So they investigate crimes using steps that are on the internet. Now, I always say in cyber, we have it a little bit easy. The police that go out there and investigate other crimes might have to look a bit harder for clues, whereas in cyber, every click, every device that you touch, everything is linked back to the person that's doing it. What router are they connected to? What device are they using? So it is a little bit easier to find that information, which is why you can't really afford to make mistakes on the internet. A cryptographer is a really wordy one for somebody who locks information. So they might encrypt information, put passwords on things, because big companies will have a lot of information that they don't want the public to be able to get access to. So they will hire cryptographers to lock up their information, basically to protect the data that they're holding so that other people can't get hold of it. So another side to careers that I am going to cover are careers in policing. Now, there are two ways you can work for the police. Apologies, clicking again. So yeah, there's a lot of people don't realise that you can be both a police officer and a civilian member of staff. So police officers, that's what you would imagine. They have the warrant card, the badges, they will be fully in uniform, they will fight crime, they will arrest people, and that you can apply to be a police officer online from the age of 18. So there's other requirements that you need on there. You can go on the GMP website and have a look at that. The other way that you can work for the police that a lot of people don't know is as a civilian. So you're not a police officer. You don't have to wear a uniform, you don't have a badge, you don't arrest people. These roles can be public facing in the same way. So you can be an investigator, which is a civilian version of a detective, and you can investigate crimes, you can go out, you can interview people, you can take statements, you can do all the exciting things that a police officer can do as a civilian. The only thing that you don't have the power to do is arrest someone. But often civilians and police officers will work hand in hand. So investigators will do the investigating, they'll come along, sit on the interviews, and they'll do all the exciting parts. It'll be just the police officer that would make the arrest. You can then also be a behind the scenes civilian where you do some of the investigating, like our cyber prepare officers, and you can work in any unit in the police. So you could work in our fraud unit, in our sexual offences unit, in our counter-terrorism unit, in the animal unit with the dogs and the horses. You could work anywhere as either of these things. And again, you apply online. You can be over 16 for this one, so you can be a little bit younger to work for the police in a civilian role. So I would definitely recommend having a look. They also, when you work for the police, encourage change and movement. So I started in neighbourhood policing. I then moved into the fraud unit and then into cyber. It's not frowned upon. You can see the jobs that we have, internal ones that come up. You can have a look at what you fancy and you can move around until you find a job that suits you. And it all counts as an internal move. So you constantly still would be employed by the police. The next two options that you might not know about is that we have an apprenticeship here in the police. So as soon as you leave school, you can do this apprenticeship. We currently have two. We have business administration and customer service. Business administration would be apprentices that would work on the teams that I've kind of just talked about. You can work in any team in the police. You can work in our serious organised crime unit or in the fraud unit or anything like that, and you would help the officers and the civilians with their administration. So you might help them write up their crimes, you might help them with the filing, and you would get experience in that role. Once you have completed your apprenticeship, often you then get to apply, and a lot of people then get a role for GMP full-time as well. So there are numbers on the screen there of how many people have been in full-time employment, and I'm sure that's only going to go up and up and up over the next few years. The other one, the customer service, that would be in the unit that deals with answering the 999 calls and calls from the public, the 101 calls. So there's loads of different exciting opportunities and ways that you could work for the police that isn't necessarily just becoming a police officer after going to uni. The other one is to have a degree, police degree apprenticeship. So you can actually get a degree at the same time as working as a police officer. So you would work through it at the same time. So you would be doing your studying on some days and you would be a police constable on other days. And then by the time you finished the period, you would then be a fully fledged police officer with a degree. So from the apprenticeship to the degree option to working as a police officer to being a civilian member of staff, there are so many opportunities for careers in the police. And I just advise you all to, if you are curious and you didn't know what you wanted to be, certainly have a look, because I think the ability to move and change within your role is a really good one, especially if you're not sure what you want to do. So on my screen now are some opportunities, courses, qualifications that you can do. ISC Squared are currently offering free cybersecurity qualifications in the field, and they're offering them until they are gone. I don't know how many they're offering. They've been offering them since mid last year. They're still there now. You can go on and get yourself a full qualification. You can do it in your own time. Microsoft Learn have a lot of things on there where you can get information. Cisco have courses, apprenticeships, qualifications. GMCA with the GMAT, they have a lot of help and support for helping people. That's who's running this session today, helping people find the career that they want with various different opportunities. So some of these are techie, some of them might not be techie. You can just find, I'll share all these resources with your teachers. If you can find something that interests you, that could turn out to be a really good career option, then it's definitely worth a look. This is a few more game things that you can do. So Google Interland and Cyber Sprinters, they are games that have a little bit of online safety in there. Cyber Choices, that's the website that covers all the legal and illegal things that I've covered with you today. Code Academy and Code Clubs, they set up, there's quite a few in Manchester. There's a Manchester Coder Dojo that happens, they meet up monthly and you turn up, it could be to a local like centre or a local church, a local school, and they teach you how to code. And coding is the makeup of everything: apps, phones, software, and they will teach you how to write code, how to make things, and it could be just a really, really useful skill that you might want to then take on to the future. So finally, this is the task that I'm going to ask you to do after today's session. Some schools, you might already know this, you might have already done it, because IDEA is something that was founded in Stockport in Manchester, and it is an industry recognised qualification. For those of you that don't know, IDEA is basically like the Duke of Edinburgh Award. So the Duke of Edinburgh Award, you do various outdoor tasks like orienteering, camping, walking, and you get your bronze, your silver and your gold. This is the cyber version of that. It's an online version. So there's 4 categories on the screen there: citizen, worker, maker and entrepreneur. I can't express how useful these things are. So if any of you want to have an online career, whether that is there's modules on being an influencer, there's modules on setting up a business, there's modules on online safety, there's modules on hacking, cyber spies, all kinds of ones. And every module gets you so many points. Once you have so many, you then get your bronze award, then your silver, then your gold. And you can put this straight on your CV, because any company in the cyber world will recognise this in the industry. So the homework that I'm going to ask for you today is to set up an account on IDEA if you don't already have one, and complete the Safe Online module. I hope that once you've done that, you'll see how interesting it is, how useful it is, and you'd then go on to do some of maybe the more fun modules on there. And it doesn't even have to, you don't have to pick a topic. You can click through all of the different topics, do an entrepreneur one, then do a cyber spies one, then go back. And it's just really, really useful. So if any of the teachers can write that down, just idea.org, and either in school or in your own time, I would advise you to create an account. But that is everything from me. Thank you very much for listening to me cover all of that content so early on a Tuesday morning. If I'm going to hand back now to the GMCA team. If there's been any questions in the chat in the meantime, I will try and answer them. If not, you can still send them in the chat and I will answer them afterwards and can send you an answer back to your school.
Thank you so much, Sophie. That was really, really insightful. Thank you everyone else for joining us today. We hope you found the session useful. You can keep up to date with all things Meet Your Future at GMAX, and I'll link is on the screen now. GMAX, if you don't know, is the Greater Manchester Apprenticeship and Career Service platform, where you can find out lots more about careers, apprenticeships and opportunities open to you. Many of you will probably already be using this. Please speak to your teachers to find out more about it. We'll also love to have your feedback on this session, and we'll be sending feedback forms to your teacher for you to complete next week, and there'll also be a teacher's one to complete. It is really important for us to get that feedback, as that then we'll know if the Meet Your Future sessions are actually helpful and ways that we can actually improve them in the future. Thank you again for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic morning. I don't know whether there is some questions in the chat, Sophie, so I don't know whether you want to answer those now. Can you see the ones?
Just seen one pop up there about the salary for a prepare officer. That's the only one I can see. A prepare officer can be a police officer or a civilian member of staff. So it would depend which one of those was our prepare officer at the time. We recently had a civilian member of staff as our prepare officer, so that would depend on the grade of that civilian member of staff. So that's not a really easy answer. With a police officer, it would again depend on what pay scale they're in. I would imagine it will be somewhere up to £40,000 for a fully fledged police officer constable that's been in for a few years. If they were in that role, they would then get paid that. But it's not in the police. You get paid according to your rank rather than your role. So I'm sorry, that's not the best answer for that question. You certainly would get paid a lot more in the private sector, but I personally think working for the police and feeling like you're giving something back and working for such a good organisation is, you have to weigh up the pros and cons of what you want there. Are there any? Oh, I think I can see more.
We're all in the published.
I've found it. So someone said, how will I get hacked if a hacker knows my pet's name? Only if your pet's name is your password. A lot of people use their pet's names or their children's names, celebrities' names as their password. So that's the only way. If your pet dog was called Smudge and your password was Smudge123 for everything, that's how a criminal could hack into your account. But if your pet's name isn't any of your passwords, then you're all right. The pay structure for civilian roles is on the GMP website. It's graded in letters. So A would be apprenticeship, and then it goes B for like our admin roles, and then we'll go up C, D, E, and it's all the way up. And then as it goes, it will mimic police rank pay as it goes further down the line. But if you have a look, I'm not sure off the top of my head what it is, but you can definitely find the police pay structure for civilian roles, and then every role that is on there will say what grade it is. So it could be a grade F, a grade C, and then it will have the full salary on there as well. Oh, I'm not sure what the highest earning salary in cybersecurity is, but I know a few people that work in the private sector that have quadrupled their wage by doing something. It's endless in tech because it's so important. Maybe that's something that you could do a little bit of a research on, how much can you possibly earn in cybersecurity and see, because I think you will be pleasantly surprised if you was to Google things like that. I would not possibly know what the highest you could possibly earn in is. You don't have to be over 16 to use the training website. So IDEA, the one that I've set your homework on, you can use from, I think they say from 11, but there isn't necessarily an age limit on it. We've had young people do it, especially kids that we've worked with in a prevent capacity. They've done modules on IDEA as well. And the oldest person that we've had do it was 98 years old. So no, you don't have to be 16. There isn't a limit either way on that. For the qualifications, the free courses, certainly you can just sign up for those, that's fine. every website will have all the information on it, and I'm going to send a full list to all of the teachers. I'll answer one more because I've probably got a few seconds on there. It says, is it illegal to go on an 18+ website when you're only 13, for example? So that is a good question. A lot of social media accounts, you have to be a certain age to go on there, and it's not necessarily illegal. The reason there's age restrictions on a lot of websites and a lot of accounts is because of their data storage responsibilities. It's not necessarily because it's illegal to go on there. So that's not me saying you should go on all those websites. That's me saying go on there responsibly, and you want to keep yourself, your information, what you see, as protected as possible. So it's not a law thing, but it's probably a safety thing. And I think that's me for time, isn't it? I'll answer all of these questions and I will send them over to the GMCA team to send out.
Many thanks, Sophie. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.